Today we are out in front of the Greenhouse Learning Center, and again joining me is Dr. Moss. And one of the things that, as much as we care about horticulture and landscape and the soil, there are instances where we get handed construction soil, such as this 5 years ago.
That's right.
So let's talk about some of the remedies that we've done out here in front of the GLC to help amend the soil and improve it from that construction site.
Yeah, we're back on campus at our beautiful Greenhouse Learning Center for our department. And we have this outdoor classroom space too. So we want our students to have like the hands-on experience, do all the great things in the greenhouse, but also out here. But what did this used to be, Casey?
It was a parking lot.
This was a parking lot.
So it was literally heavily compacted,
Yes.
not to mention the construction to build stuff.
All the things.
Which is important. I mean, you got to have a compacted foundation area.
Absolutely, yes.
So, but now it's been a learning process for students,
Yes.
how to grow in construction soil.
Exactly. Yeah, so we can still dig down, we can find plenty of rocks, plenty of concrete, plenty of rebar, all the things.
Break a few shovels. And
buried treasures are here. And so here we are 5 years later, and we're just now kind of getting a handle on building up soil health.
Yes.
Because it takes time, right?
It does, absolutely. And
Yeah.
there's a lot that's involved in soil health.
There really is. And so, you know, we always talk about where do we start? We start with a soil test. So of course we've done that, and you know, as might be expected, there are some issues here with you know, pH and nutrients and organic matter. So what we've tried to do is resolve all of that through time. And you have different areas out here, different beds, and so not every bed is the same. They all have a little bit different issues, a little bit different problems, maybe different slope, maybe different pH level, maybe different organic matter. So we've just tried to build them up kind of like a prescription.
Yes, absolutely.
For each one.
And
Yeah.
one of the sort of the aspirin for the garden is compost, right?
Yeah, you got to have compost. So topsoil and compost was huge. And so really kind of the strategy has been, okay, we knew we couldn't do a lot about the hard subsoil that's here and the concrete and the buried treasures that are here. And so why don't we just go up?
Okay.
So maybe build these beds up a little bit and get a little, you know, kind of bring in our own root zone and
Right.
build that up in that top 6, 8, 12 inches. And at the same time kind of build these beds up so that our plants can do well. So really that's been the strategy.
And I've noticed you've done that in a couple of different ways. Not only do we have traditional raised beds,
We do.
but
yeah.
you also have a succulent garden back here with rocks, and
Yeah.
then also your native garden. Tell me about some of those.
Exactly right. So the raised beds is really for classes for the vegetable production. So those are, you know, definitely artificial, built above the ground, right? And then over here next to the greenhouse, we have this area where it's a little windy because we have exhaust fans. So we put some succulents there. But yeah, we kind of step that up to give some beauty to it, some aesthetics with the rocks. And then put those succulents in there that can do well in that territory. We're not worried about them drying out so much there. And so, yeah, they're doing quite well. But all of that rooting zone is really kind of artificial. It's kind of, we built that up for the plants. And then same here in our native area.
And
Yeah.
I mean, let me go back to this. Being succulents, there's a little more aggregate in there for better drainage.
Exactly right.
But also it's a microclimate because you got a lot of wind coming from
Lot
those
of wind
greenhouse
coming there,
fans.
yeah.
And so having the succulents that maybe are used to a dry, arid
Yes.
environment, they work well there.
It works well there. Right plant, right place is so important, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So let's talk about the native garden then.
Again, right plant, right place. And so, hey, using some of these native, like these native grasses, like switchgrass, hey, what does it do for you?
It makes roots.
It makes roots.
And a lot of biomass on top.
So you can help, you know, break up that hard pan
Right.
soil with those roots and get a little aeration to it, right?
Exactly.
Naturally, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's all important.
So even though this landscape, and I think that's one of the things is we don't realize, like, you know what, if we're tired of switchgrass, we can take that out. But
That's
in the
right.
meantime, it has really developed our root system
Again,
and our soil.
Yeah, we're 5 years down the road, and so let these things do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, if you want to change them out in the future, as that soil health builds up and as the quality builds up for you, it gives you more options for what plants you might put out here. So, yeah, let them do their thing. We're 5 years down the road, and it's going to take, you know, it's a marathon, right?
Yeah.
So we've got work to do still. And we still have some areas that have, you know, relatively high pH, and so we're still amending soils for that. But we'll get there.
And I know one of the things we always talk about is not only building up the soil, but also planting plants higher.
Yes.
Because as they settle, they can sink down, which creates sort of a drainage problem for those plants. So
Yeah.
we've got them planted higher here.
So some of these are planted a little high. You'll see on some of the trees and shrubs over here in the native bed. Yeah, planted a little high, but it really helps the plant to do well.
Yeah, and being in a public space, obviously, we have to take care of these sidewalks.
We do,
and I
yeah.
know OSU is sensitive to putting out ice melt and how much they're doing and when they're
Right.
doing it. But I've noticed because of the raised beds, you're not going to have runoff of whatever contaminants on the sidewalk going into those beds.
That's right, yeah. So it keeps everything kind of contained, and then let the drainage do its thing and take it where it needs to go. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, Dr. Moss, thank you so much for sharing some of the remedies that y'all used here at the GLC.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.